New York State has some of the most restrictive gun laws in the nation, and the criminals still get them.
No.
Hi friends, welcome to today's bonus badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host as always, John Correa. With me, our co-host and host of the Ask Podcast, Mike Williver.
Today's video comes to us from Rochester, New York.
At Active Self-Protection, we trust several excellent holster makers. Filster, Dark Star Gear, Henry Holsters, Black Arch Holsters, and KSG Armory all make incredible CCW holsters, and 09 Solutions makes fantastic duty gear for law enforcement officers. Check them out at the link in the description for all your holster needs. Calls get out on the radio of an armed robbery with a gun in progress. 2 officers responding here. Let's listen into the badge cams.
Does anyone have a gun in here? Hey, come here. Let me see your hands. Get out of the pocket. Get your hands out of your pocket. Get your hands out of your pocket. Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Drop it!
Come here. Let me see your hands. Get out of the pocket. Get your hands out of your pocket. Get your hands
Out of your pockets now! Shit. Shit. Hands out now!
Drop the gun!
Drop it! I got it. I got it.
Yeah, we got shots fired. 715. Bailed down. Let's go.
Tell him to start EMS. 223. Can you start EMS to the Family Dollar in West Main?
Perp did take the first shot at the officers. The officer responded in kind. No one else was harmed in this one. And the perp took the brawny aisle temperature challenge, and we're going to think about lessons. Listen, we don't say it here all the time here at Active Self-Protection on the badge cams, but seriously, you got to go listen to Mike and our guests on the podcast. It is really an eye-opening listen.
Yeah, check it out on all the major podcast networks. We also show it on the Extra channel, usually a week or two after it comes out on the main podcast. It's going gangbusters. I'm really enjoying it. You guys should check it out.
Mike, I gotta say that the entrance here with the officer pulling his firearm repeatedly seems super weird to me, and I don't get it.
I don't think that he was trained to do that. I'm not sure what his thought process is here because, you know, if you're walking into a store where there's supposed to be an armed robbery in progress, have your gun out. Preferably have a long gun, by the way, as we always say. But have your gun out and keep it out. You can have it down at a low ready or even behind your leg to keep it out of view. But if you need your gun out for this, have your gun out and leave it out.
It's the indecision here that's a little worrisome to me, right? That it's, do I need the gun in my holster or in my hand? My holster or in my hand? My holster or in my hand? And that's one of the reasons, gosh, when you're responding, that's when you think, no, this is an armed robbery in progress. I'm gonna have my gun in hand the second I get out of the car, grab my rifle if I have a patrol carbine or something like that. So then that way, if I have to, I can use deadly force and have all my grip, all my sights, all my trigger, and those kinds of things. Really struggled with that. The next thing that I wanna ask you about, Mike, is he comes in and just asks, is there someone here with a gun? It almost felt like to me, anybody got a gun I can borrow or something like that? It seemed a very odd question, like maybe he wasn't mentally prepared yet to be involved in an armed robbery.
I think nonchalant is the word you used. We were discussing this offline earlier, and yeah, it's terribly nonchalant. I'm not trying to bag on this poor officer too much, but I'd like to see you in a command and control kind of headspace here, and come in and dominate the scene and get things under control, find your bad guy. And he just seems very, very casual. And I don't know why that is, if that's just sort of his style. But, man, if you're going into an armed robbery in progress, you need to be tack sharp, locked on, and ready to have a gunfight potentially.
Yeah, and again, that you can build that mindset as you're coming, right? You get the radio call out, you're on the way, preparing mentally, okay, I'm gonna take command of this space, I'm gonna own everything in that space, I'm gonna have my firearm in my hand, and I'm gonna protect the innocent, and I'm gonna make sure that everyone is safe here, but I own this space as soon as I'm in this space, and especially, again, not as a general call for service, but this armed robbery with a gun is the way the call went out. And so now he sees the perp and he points at him. Is this the guy right here? Yeah, okay, cool. So fine, I'm going to get my gun in my hand and start issuing him commands. And again, it still feels nonchalant to me. Like, hey, wait a minute, man. Let's have a dialogue about this. And I want to ask you about this, Mike. He says, show me your hands. And that to me invites the guy to pull the gun out of his pocket.
One of the things we used to teach on our range is if you're going to present your gun to someone and you want to control that suspect, the first thing you say is police in a loud voice, and you say don't move. It's a very, very simple set of commands. I know sometimes you and I go back and forth about the negative before the when you give a command, but I think police don't move is perfect. And then that gives you a second. As long as he doesn't move, that gives you a second to kind of assess what's going on here, and then get him turned around, maybe get him prone down on the ground or something like that. It wouldn't have mattered much what he said here, I don't think. This guy wasn't going to comply anyway, but yeah, I would have preferred something like that. Don't show me your hands. Please don't show me your hands.
Yeah, because I don't want to see the gun that's in your hands is where it ends up at, right? Yeah, I'd prefer stop, freeze, stay still, those kinds of things. But, I think that's kind of potato at some level. So guy runs off. Okay, officer's chasing him, gun in hand. And now he's got to reach out and he's trying to grab this guy and get him into custody with a gun in his hand. And let's just remember, each and every one of us, there's a reason that muzzle discipline is so critical. There's a reason that trigger finger discipline is so critical. And that reason here is he's reaching out with his support hand to try to grab a hold of this guy and take him into custody. And if his trigger finger discipline is not strong, you could very easily have a sympathetic squeeze negligent discharge here. He didn't. He did a great job. It's a great reminder for all of us, though.
Absolutely. It's a tough call here. He's in a very confined space with a guy who he knows has a gun. He's trying to apprehend him. This is no easy task. There's no easy way to go about doing this. And again, I think he did his best. But yeah, if you're going to be putting hands on someone, your gun needs to be put away. I know that seems weird, but if you're going to put hands on someone, your gun, your taser, whatever needs to be put away. You need both of your hands to control the suspect. Especially, I don't know if you knew he had a cover unit right there or not, but especially if you're by yourself, you need two hands.
Yeah, and again, that might mean then, no, I need a gun in my hand right now because I know this guy has a gun. So I'm not going to try to tackle this guy right now. I'm going to chase him and continue to give him commands to put the, to drop the gun or whatever, see if he'll drop the gun, and then we can move on from there. Now, dude then takes a shot at the officer. Officer responds with several shots. And I know the shot that people are going to want to talk about is this one here, because about, I'd say 3/4 of a second or so went by. The guy is facing away from the officer, at least kind of quartered away from him. And I know some people are going to ask, wait a minute, that last shot was not shot in the same cadence as the other. It was its own shot. And was that justified? I think it was, but Mike, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, we had a video not long ago in Tucson that was clearly a not justified shooting. We talked about that. And there was one late shot in that one as well. And that one was really, that looked very, very bad. This one, I'd have to be looking through that officer's eyeballs to know exactly what he saw. To see, did he see a twitch? Did he see the guy's hand move? Was there something to give him the impression the guy was about to flip over? He still has a gun in his hand. So unless this camera is not going to show me what I need to see definitively to say that was a justified shot or not, therefore there's nothing to show me definitively beyond a reasonable doubt that that shot was unreasonable.
Yeah, and I think that's really where it is here, is that he has a gun in his hand. He still absolutely can deal deadly force at distance from there. I got a partner somewhere in the store as well. So I personally don't have a problem with it in this particular instance. Now as well, man, once that guy stops, okay, we've stopped the issue for the moment, but now what an absolute disaster of trying to control this guy. I'm not saying disaster that the officer did was wrong. In fact, I think it probably is not too darn bad here, because this guy, you're not going to be able to cover him and maintain any distance or get to a better spot, because this aisle makes this incredibly impossible. So I'm kind of thinking that the distance that he covered here, not a bad thing, Mike.
No, not bad at all. I got to say, this is probably the first time this officer has ever been on scene for an armed robbery in progress, had the armed robber still be there, chase him down an aisle, try to grab him, been shot at, and had to shoot the armed robber in response. you can't really practice for this scenario. So he's making this up as he goes along. As far as this specific scenario goes, I think getting distance was one of his options, and I think that's what he did. I can't fault him for it. I might have moved in and tried to control the firearm. There's no right answer here, John. I think he did what he felt was best in the moment, and as we're going to see, his partner came around the corner and took care of the rest of it.
Yeah, and I think that's some of it. Sometimes you're just in a bad spot. You got to make the best decision you can in the moment. I think the officer did that as best he could here. Now, his partner officer here, I think, like a couple things, I love that she went up the other aisle trying to find a way to cut this guy off. Of course, when she comes around the corner, the guy does still have the gun in his hand here, and this is a dangerous spot for her, Mike, but I don't know that she even knows that he has a gun in his hand.
I would venture to guess she has no idea. I don't think she could have known the gun was inside of a paper bag. So she's probably, in the split second she has to react to this, what she's taking in through her eyeballs right now, I doubt she has any idea that there's a gun inside that bag or what that bag is or if that bag's even related. Can she even tell that his hand is on it? I don't know. And again, the badge cams are great. They're a wonderful tool. They keep the cops honest. They protect cops, from false accusations. But in this case, this footage just isn't good enough. The angle's not good enough for me to be able to see what she's seeing. Again, I think in this case, we always talk about not aiming in on a bad guy. In this case, I think she's completely justified. There's already been a shootout, so she needs to be ready. The problem is there's that balance between I want to be ready to shoot and I want to be able to see what his hands are doing. This is a really unique situation. She's got a barricade and something blocking her vision. She can't tell. She doesn't know if her partner shot or not. There's a million things going through her mind, so I'm going to give her a pass. And I agree. I love seeing her go down the aisle. There's a thing in vehicle pursuit called shadowing the pursuit, where you run a street or a block over from the vehicle pursuit. I think that's kind of what she was doing here, was saying this guy's probably going to make a right or a left, and if I'm lucky, I can catch him off guard.
Now, she uses her foot to get that bag away from him, which we find out later has the gun in it. Okay, fine. And I just want to commend this officer as well, because she gets on the radio. She originally says, hey, get an ambulance here. When that doesn't happen, she gets on the radio, and I love a couple things. Number one, that she is calm on the radio. Number two, she doesn't waste a lot of time. She simply says what she needs. Here's who I am. Here's where I am. Here's what I need. And then gets off the radio. Simple positive commands to get what she needs en route as quickly as she can. I think that's commendable.
Clear, concise radio communications is one of the most important things you can do in law enforcement. And I always tell rookies, hey, dude, get your thoughts together. Gather your thoughts before you press the push to talk button and think about what you're going to say. She thought about it, and she said it very concisely and very quickly. I think they both did a really, really good job here under the circumstances, and I think they covered their asp.